And welcome into the Real Monica Adams Show. We are in the beautiful studios this morning, and unfortunately, they don't smell as good as they usually do because our candle, after almost a full year, is kaput. It just literally had some smoke coming through the air. So we are going to have to replace that. Do you have any ideas what scent we should have in the studio? It has literally been a year since we got this. This one is what? Jasmine Midnight Blooms. And we got that from Christopher's in Kirkwood. So Mark Coulter, I think we need another one. Look how huge this candle is. A full year, because he gave this to us on June 12th when we officially launched our show here in these studios. So thank you to Mark, by the way. That was our wonderful gift. Now we need to get another one. I had one that I was thinking of getting back in December, but that was, of course, a holiday smell. We don't want to have the holiday smell all throughout the year. So weigh in if you got some ideas of what you think would smell great in our tropical studio. I hope you had a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. We could not have asked for better weather. We're going to do a little recap of our show from yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to see it, I want you to do so because there were some incredible vendors, and I'll run some of those down, that we had a chance to meet yesterday. We enjoyed, of course, with my mother. My entire family actually showed up. I didn't know they were all coming. My brother, my sister-in-law, my both of my brothers actually. So there, I want to say something. That woman right there, Tiffany Winkler, evidently has a front page story on the St. Louis Post-Dispatch page today, I'm told, the one on the left, and they're with Circle6Acres.farm. Check them out. We'll be having a live broadcast from their new business in Defiance coming up very soon. I want to thank Barb Inglesby for coming by. Also, we had a chance to, there's my family, by the way, on the right-hand side. I met that woman, Ruth. She said she's been looking forward to meeting me for a long, long time. I wanted you to all come out and be a part of the broadcast yesterday, and so many of you did. Thank you to Ann and Janice and Carrie, and there's Leona and Marilyn. Marilyn doing a continued celebration of her birthday. She brought her dog out as well. Thank you, Heidi, for accompanying. And there's baby Kate. Thank you for taking that picture, by the way, Allison, with Diamonds in the Rough Rescue. And hopefully we'll get some of those dogs adopted. She said they have over 100 dogs that still need to be adopted. But it was amazing. And thank you to John and Melissa Knoll for booking The Real Monica Adams at the Farmers and Artisans Market. And you can go from now through October every Sunday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Again, it's the 24 O'Fallon Square. You can call it the Storico parking lot, or I called it the Panteras parking lot. And you can bet we went to Panteras afterwards and got a pizza. It was a wonderful day, and I hope you had a great one as well, whatever you had a chance to do. Now, we were talking about how gorgeous the weather was, but that's all going to start changing. So let's do our What the Weather segment.
Look at that 5-day stretch of really warm temperatures. Is definitely going to be a great weekend.
That's right. We have this segment with our aspiring meteorologist, Beckett Moore. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic. You know, I was driving in this morning, and this is the problem when people wake up late. They miss how gorgeous the sunrise is. Did you see it this morning, Beckett?
No, I did not, but I heard it was
Oh my
good.
goodness. It was stunning. I mean, first of all, I was coming out of our neighborhood and the sky was just lit up with oranges and pinks. And then as I got over near the tree line broke and I could just see this gorgeous sunrise. So yes, for all of you, if you can get a chance to get up in the 5 and the early 6 o'clock part of the hour, that's what you'll be able to see. Now, that was stunning to me, but one of the things that I missed out on, Beckett, were everybody's pictures that they have been posting of the Northern Lights and the fact that we were able to see this. So we're going to look through some of these, and I want to thank Zach Kimball, our director, for putting these together. This is Jeannie Bryant's picture that she sent in. Look at those pinks and purples and just the way the sky was. So many people talked about how you could see it with the naked eye, but that the camera was capturing so much more. That was actually out in Innsbruck, Missouri, from Dana Gibson. I don't know if you saw any from your house, Beckett.
See it, some at my house, actually.
Did you see any?
Yes.
You did. Okay, we'll see some of his in just a second. Carrie Grizzard sent in from Greenville, Illinois, and I'll let Beckett continue to look at these and tell me what your favorites are. I saw one that was sent in from Lake of the Ozarks, which I so far thought was one of the prettiest. This is Lori Decker from Wentzville. There it is. Wow. Megan Glusenkamp. Isn't that unbelievable with up against the water?
That's
Yeah, I think I
incredible.
saw one also in Hillsborough, Missouri, and that person was probably taking it, I would think, near Raintree
Wow.
Plantation. Carrie Samuelson. I mean, it almost looks like it's fake, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And
It
a
looks
lot of
like it's
people said no
Photoshop.
filters. This is Chris
Uh-huh.
Abshier. And again,
Wow.
exactly. It's really all you can continue to do is say, wow, there we go. I loved that. In Sanibel, Florida, Robin Winans
That's
posted that
insane.
one with the palm trees. And I was like, too bad I didn't get a chance to see it because we've got palm trees in our backyard, and I would have loved to have taken a similar picture to that. Yeah, we were asking
Yeah.
yesterday for you to send pictures in, and boy, did we get a lot of responses. This is Vandalia, Illinois, from Terry Owensby, Britt. Thank you for sending these in. I think we had 75 or more pictures that were sent
Wow.
in. DeSoto, Renee Solomon. See, so I was originally thinking that we didn't see anything down south, but people were posting from DeSoto and Festus and Hillsborough. I think somebody actually said right near our area. There it is. I have a feeling that that is near Raintree Plantation. Daisy Neaters out in the Hillsborough area. And again, I've never seen anything like this, and I wish I would have had a chance to see it. So, Beckett, what did you see in your area? Anything similar to that?
Well, here's a drone shot I got in St. Louis. So obviously the city lights aren't going to help, but you can kind of make it out there. The purple up there, kind of a subtle green down there as well, and a couple pillars in there as well. Can't really make it out too well, but yeah, we did see a pretty incredible geomagnetic storm, which is what caused that aurora, and it was actually, I think, the strongest we've seen since 2005. So that's why we saw all the way down to Florida. Just very incredible event for sure.
Okay, I was going to say, because I don't remember that, and maybe I didn't get a chance to see it back then either. So we're almost talking about 20 years ago. So I hope you all had an opportunity to take those pictures. You can continue to flood them. I still have been fascinated by all the pictures that you all had. So thank you again to all of you for sending those in. So Beckett, we did enjoy, was it like in the mid 80s yesterday?
Yes, I think so. I think we
That's
got pretty
crazy.
high up.
So upper 70s on Saturday, mid 80s yesterday, and beautiful weather, but now it's all going to start changing. So we do have rain in the forecast today, don't we?
Yes, we do. So this morning, 68 degrees, overcast skies, and then going into the afternoon, around 72 degrees, and some showers are going to be around. This isn't going to be a washout. We are going to see those showers that are going to be around, and you can see we're not going to warm up a lot. We could maybe get up a little bit above 72 degrees mid-morning into around noon, but because of that rain, we're not going to really warm up a lot because of that precipitation. Now, going on to our 7-day outlook, 72 degrees today with that rain around, a low of 62. Then going into tomorrow, 74 degrees. We're going to have some showers around tomorrow. Both of these days not going to be washouts. We're not going to be accumulating a lot of rain, but still going to be there. Definitely going to be hampering on your outdoor plants, low 57. And then going into Wednesday, Thursday, around 75. For our highs, Thursday is going to be our next rain chance there. We're going to have a couple thunderstorms around. And then really warming up as we get into the weekend. 80 degrees there on Friday with that sun really coming back in. And then Saturday and Sunday, we could be getting hot as we get to 85, 86 degrees there with 2 very sunny days, really sunny going into our weekend. And then lastly, the dog walking forecast. I heard you talk about Heidi right here. She is the dog for today, but unfortunately, we do have a bad dog walking forecast today due to that rain. But Heidi right there at the desk, adorable right there.
I love that. And if you didn't know, Becca started asking for your dog pictures. Send them to me, info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com, and then I forward those on to Beckett, and maybe we'll showcase your dog. Beckett, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, that's aspiring meteorologist Beckett Moore. And by the way, Marilyn, her birthday is tomorrow, and that is her dog. Evidently, today is Kathy Kilo Peterson's birthday. I'm seeing that in all the comments. So happy birthday to you, and thank you for all the months that you were on with us on The Real Monica Adams Show. Okay, some news you can use, and there's not a lot out there. In fact, it's more good news stories, but let me start with the first one. There have been a lot of graduations. Today is Washington University's graduation, and that'll be at 9 o'clock. They're going to start letting people in, though, at about 7:30. So what does that mean for you? Right now, most likely, you're going to start seeing backups on 64, probably Skinker, Forsyth, Big Bend, Forest Park Parkway. Long delays, so you might want to stay out of those areas. I know a lot of the commencements have been canceled or postponed because of the pro-Palestinian protests, so not sure if any of that will happen today, but if so, we'll of course recap that for you tomorrow. Let's talk about Afton Fire Protection District. Look at this. It was a Mother's Day miracle. 10 ducklings were stuck in a storm drain, the sewer, and according to the captain with the Afton Fire Protection District, he said in his 25 years, he's never had to rescue a duck before. There's the babies, and I was told as soon as they took the ducklings out, they immediately got them over to mom, who was just squawking and squawking and squawking, which is so cool, their communication, trying to alert humans that, hey, my babies are down below, can you please go rescue them? And they did. So congratulations to the Afton Fire Protection District. Way to go, men and women. Thank you for all that you do. In sports, the Cards actually pulled out a win. A lot of people talking about Oliver Marmol today. There's like hundreds of thousands on their posts because he got heated and a little frustrated. But some people are saying maybe that's a good thing. It fired things up. So the Cardinals with a 4-3 win over the Brewers. They play the Angels tonight. The first pitch is just after 8:30. The Battlehawks lost to Birmingham. That was a 30-26 game, come from behind for Birmingham. And St. Louis City SC, I actually watched that one Saturday night. What an incredible game that was. They beat Chicago. The score was 3-1. They play LAFC for a Wednesday night game. We'll see if they get that one in. Hopefully the weather will be wonderful, as Becca was saying. So St. Louis City SC with a Wednesday night game. All right, it is 7:11, and that's a recap of everything you need to know, your weather, your sports, everything to start your day. And now we're going to get into Medical Monday. We have Dr. Sean Neary on tap first, and he is, of course, with Mid-America Spine and Rehab. We're going to talk about hip problems, that if you have hip problems, it then affects your spine, affects your knees, it affects your ankles. What are the warning signs and what can be done about it? And then Dr. Sara Franco from InVita Health and Wellness, she joins us and we'll talk about more like the mental, spiritual side of things when your hormones are so out of balance that it affects your relationships. It's going to be a great show. Dr. Sean Neary in the blue chair when we return. InVita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. InVita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, InVita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let InVita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online InVitaHealthAndWellness.com. Welcome back again, The Real Monica Adams Show, and I just thought a really funny comment. So Beckett or Jill, if you're still watching, somebody just said, are you still going to get up with us once school is out? That's from Linda. So Beckett, answer that question for us. Will you still get up early? That'll be very, very funny. Okay, let me welcome in our friend, Dr. Sean Neary from Mid-America Spine and Rehab. Welcome in.
Good morning.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did. I was actually at Mizzou's graduation for my girlfriend's oldest son graduated.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so many graduations going on. We just mentioned, oh my gosh, Washington University is on tap for today. Okay, before we start our show, he was actually just mentioning this. Isn't what's right next to him absolutely gorgeous? So I had a Mother's Day broadcast yesterday at the Farmers and Artisans Market. 99 for 1 is the name of their company, and they do all these laser engravings and all this beautiful woodwork and wood earrings. So I bought a bunch of jewelry also. I originally was going to buy this winter scene that he had that had a moose and snow and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. He forgot to set it aside, I think, because I was like, or maybe I didn't say set it aside. I just said, I'm going to buy that one. And when I came over, it was gone, but rightfully so, because this was meant for me.
Gorgeous.
Right? I mean, I'm so close to my father that I lost when I was really, really young, and I go, that's got to go on set. You can't tell, but it lights up. And so thank you. I didn't get a chance to meet his wife, but I fortunately was able to meet him, and his beautiful daughter was helping out as well. So 99 for 1 is the name of the company, and Brad Schnur. Brad, thank you. I hope you're watching, because I told him I was going to show it on set. So we had fun.
That's great.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was good. Okay, so we're going to talk today about hip issues. But when I think of that as a trainer, it affects so much. And people start thinking, well, I thought I had an hip issue, but now I got a knee issue. Now I got an ankle issue. Now my feet are bothering me. There's just so much. Well, and we brought Larry in today. We're gonna tell you why all that happens.
Yes.
So what are the biggest hip problems?
Biggest hip problems that we see are osteoarthritis, so a little narrowing of the gap in that ball and socket joint, but also when we have actual hip pain, because people point to their low back and say, I have hip pain. Your hip's out on the side here.
Right.
But the hip can affect the SI joint,
Okay.
which is why I brought Larry so we can visualize all this. And then it'll affect the lumbar spine, which can then start affecting the discs. And it all can start in the hips, or it can even start in the knees, move up to the hip, then the low back.
So you mentioned one aspect of what could be causing the problem, but what other things would cause hip pain?
Overuse or inactivity, either one. If we are moving too much, especially at a younger age, a lot of compression. So volleyball players are a big one. Soccer players who are a lot of unilateral, one-sided. That's going to put overuse on that joint, and it's going to be more on one side, typically on the right side. The inflammatory arthritis is another one. Bursitis. The iliopsoas bursitis we don't see quite as often, but then there was something else you and I were talking about before, which the hip pain going down the IT band.
Yes.
That one's very common that we see.
Well, and that can really, you can fix that though if you would stretch more and if you would do more yoga related exercise, which people don't do. They just want to go hard and they don't want to stretch it out.
Right, and they want to strengthen the muscles, which we do want to strengthen the muscles, but we have to figure out what the issue is first.
Right.
We don't know if we have to figure out where it's coming from, then address the cause, not the symptoms.
Well, and next Monday, by the way, I'm going to go deeper into that because I really want to get the breakdown from Sean and from Sara into what functional medicine, is all about. And that's the whole thing. We got to get to the root of the problem from traditional medicine and from functional medicine. It all is what's the root of the problem instead of masking it. You know, we're going to keep going. We're going to dismiss these warning signs.
Right. One of the big ones that we see is chiropractic is addressing the cause, not the symptoms.
Yeah.
And one of the examples that I use all the time is if you hit your funny bone,
which is not funny,
it's
Sean.
not funny. Classic. But it sends that shooting pain down into the pinky, right? We can do all the stuff down here on the pinky that we want. That's not where the problem came from.
Right.
It's up here. So
Yes.
we have to address the cause. So addressing cause versus symptomology is one of the main things that we do in chiropractic.
Who started calling it funny bone?
Who knows?
And why, by the way, does it hurt so bad?
It hurts so bad. And again, not funny.
If you're just tuning in, Dr. Sean Neary, Mid-America Spine and Rehab. Have you gotten in yet, or are you dismissing these problems, which, by the way, are just going to make you worse? I mean, every Monday we are stressing the importance of getting in and looking at yourself structurally. Let's give the information of where they're located. It is staywell.stl.com. That phone number, again, I want you to call as soon as you can to get in and see Sean. 314-966-8989, located at 1030 Old Pear Road. And again, you can see their hours, Monday through Saturday. A lot of opportunities for you to get in. And I know some of you have been in already, which is great, but some of you said you were going to and you haven't been in yet. So we want to make sure that you do that. Okay, let's bring Larry out. Let's talk about some, right there, you can see, accepting new patients, because people always ask that. Hi, Larry.
Definitely.
Thanks for coming back.
Good morning.
So let's look at the structural aspect of all this.
Back to one of the first things I said, when people think of hip pain, they point to here, which is the SI joint. This is your hip joint. It's a ball and socket joint that comes in with a lot of mobility, and we need that mobility. But what's happening if we lose that, if we lose a little bit of that integrity? If that side's shorter, it can affect this SI joint, and it goes like this. And it tilts on us.
Yes.
And as soon as we tilt, then the lumbar spine starts to correct itself. Now we have SI joint pain, low back pain, and hip pain.
Well, and what you just saw Sean do, when you raise that hip up, all I am seeing is that your entire body is out of sorts, right?
Out of sort, yes.
And so that's just going to affect so much. And that's really what I wanted to stress today is
Right.
if you say I got hip pain, well, just watch. If you leave it, if it's left alone, you're going to start having a myriad of other issues.
Absolutely. And just like with Jim, we can go back to him and we showed his leg length
Yes.
changes.
Right.
Sometimes we have an anatomically shorter leg on one side.
Yes.
Put Larry down so he's not blocking everything here. We can have an anatomical short leg. So if your femur is actually shorter on one side, that is going to dip that hip down.
Okay.
And how we can address that is we put a lift in the shoe and it actually raises you up to your level. That's rare. A lot of times what it is, it's either shortening of osteoarthritis here in the hip or a rotation of the pelvis, which is going to affect how that leg length looks. Then we adjust either the hip or the SI joint and everything evened out.
Well, with regards to osteoarthritis, we can't prevent that.
We can't prevent it, but we can manage it.
Right.
And that's the big part, is managing the osteoarthritis. Once the arthritis is in there, the integrity of that joint is altered. But again, we can address the symptoms that are going to, there we go. Yep, shortening of that hip, that ball and socket joint is going further into, it's called the acetabulum, or the socket part. And then we can get that advanced osteoarthritis.
Ooh.
That hip's not moving.
That looks painful.
It looks painful. It is painful. And osteoarthritis is one of the most common conditions that we treat with the pain, because we want you to stay active, we want you to move, but if the muscles, the joints aren't doing what they're supposed to, then we start to get affected in other parts of the body.
And those pictures that we're seeing, how are those seen? Or is that's not done through regular X-ray?
You can see that through an X-ray.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a drawing. But yes, we can see it in the X-ray. We'll see that bone spurring, just like we talked about in the low back. You see that little bone hook come
Yeah.
off. We can see that in.
Can you see inflammation?
You can't see inflammation as much, no, but you can. Osteoarthritis is an inflammatory disease,
Right.
So we know there's inflammation
Okay.
in the area.
We'll go ahead and go back to that slide and we'll break that one down, Zach, if you want to bring that one back up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot when we mentioned bulging disc and things like that about how the space decreases, and that's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing. We are losing the integrity. Then the bone starts to grow. When we put more pressure on bone, bone reacts with growing more bone, which is going to put less mobility in that joint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are not good things. Julie was it Julie? Did it just, where'd it go? I thought something. Yes, Julie Purcell said, I had a hip replacement in 2019. Great surgery. I was back to work in 4 weeks. And that's something I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
There are people who say, oh my gosh, the doctor just said I have to have a hip replacement. And all they hear is months or years. And it's not. I've had a lot of friends that have had it done. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're back up again.
Yep. We see with hip replacement surgery, it's one of the most successful
Yeah.
surgeries out there, and they want you up and moving that day now.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get up
I
and
had a
move.
friend of mine. Well, and here's the thing. She was a runner. She did a lot of marathons, and I was like, and look, nothing against running. I'm more into, from a sports standpoint, doing your short distances, those long distance runners. Nothing against any of you, but I would bet that all of you that are runners, and I do more mean long distance, that you cannot tell me that you haven't had knee issues, ankle issues. I have a friend who had like herniated, like blisters in his feet, and then he had ankle issues and his neck issues, and I'm just like, it's the pounding on the body for such a long duration.
That constant pounding. And
Yeah.
when people ask me, what's your thoughts on running? I say,
Don't ask me.
I go, personally?
I know.
But from a professional perspective, it's so hard on the body.
Thank you.
It's constant pounding, ankle, knee, hip, low back, everything.
Yep.
So I say, if you do want to run, run. But staying off of concrete is one of my biggest recommendations. If you can find a school, like with the track. With that little, it's spongy, a little bit better, or trail running. We were kind of built to be outside running on the grass. That's my kind of hierarchy in which what I would suggest with the runners,
Right.
if you want to.
And again, otherwise, just know that this is probably coming your way. And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. I don't want to take running away from you, but it's
Right.
I just always hear what you're going to be doing to your body
Yeah.
down the line.
My hip hurts today. Well, what'd you do over the weekend? Oh, I
Ran.
ran 15 miles. Okay.
I'm training for a, and I love it. I mean, people go from like a 5K to a 10K to a half marathon to a marathon, and that's not enough. Then they get into these, ultra marathons.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God, how are you just not in bed
I know.
after that?
How are you walking?
Exactly.
Much less running still. I don't get it.
So if they start to experience hip pain, all right, and we mentioned this a lot of times, to not dismiss these issues, no matter what it is. If it's just a quick thing and it goes away,
Yeah.
if you have a knee issue that kind of goes away, but sometimes I'm just thinking that those are warning signs.
Yes, that's what we have to look out for is the warning signs. So if it might start in the hip, but then all of a sudden next week it's down in the knee,
Yeah.
that kind of indicates we have that IT band syndrome
Right.
issue going on. But a lot of people just think the IT band is this big old fibrous tissue out on the side. But if you look at the anatomy of it, that is attached to a muscle called the TFL, which is all the way up top, that the long white fiber going up.
Mm-hmm.
So a muscle turns into a tendon which attaches to the bone. If you're having knee pain on the outside, we have to figure out, is that a meniscus or is it an IT band?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's IT band, we are going to address it up at the hip. It's at the TFL muscle. I wish it was labeled there, but it's called the tensor fasciolata muscle. But that middle word, fascia, which is something we'll talk about next week also.
Okay, great.
It is a fibrous tissue. So back in the day, I don't remember, back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, I know.
When my kids
Back
were
in my
walking
day.
up and down in snow.
They want that's TFL right there, the green one. The number one thing that trainers wanted to do was roll out the IT band, and in recent years that has gone to the wayside because we're like, it's not doing anything. If there is adhesions in there, we can break up the adhesions, but we have to address the problem, which is not the IT band. We got to stretch up at the hip. And that starts to release that IT band, give it a little bit
interesting.
more flexibility, then the knee pain goes away.
So if they are rolling, they're not hurting themselves, but they're not really getting to the depth of where you want?
I don't see the benefit to rolling the
Interesting.
IT band out. If you
Didn't know
want to
that.
use the roller, you roll up. Here, Larry.
I roll the whole body.
I love rolling
Okay.
the low back on muscles. We want to
Yes.
roll muscles.
Yes, don't
If-
get on the bone. You got to learn. There is actually a technique of how you're supposed to roll out. But
Yeah.
I tell people to roll out about 15 minutes on one side of the body, 15 minutes on the other side. Do
Absolutely.
it during their favorite shows or whatever.
Right. For muscles, it's wonderful
Yes.
because we are stretching the muscle. But so this is the area I would want you to stretch, even if you're having knee pain.
Okay.
So knee pain, again, there's not many muscles on the outside of the knee here. It's going to be it's going to start up here. So let's address it from the start of it and see if the IT band starts to
Releases.
relax and releases. Yeah.
So it all comes back to adjustments and everything that a chiropractor can do for you. So that's interesting. So again, some really good news because yes, I was still rolling out. Well, what about going in and getting those fascia like releases and massage? Same kind of a thing.
That's
You
fine.
would.
Typically they're not going too deep
Okay.
with the myofascial release. You're going around the fascia, which is attached to the muscle, and helping release that. But the IT band's more of a tendon, so it's not all embraced around the muscle.
So
much.
would it be good though that they kind of work hand in hand, that you do massage work with your chiropractor?
Definitely, because when we have the muscles relaxed, you're not fighting against my adjustment as
Yeah.
much. The body, and you're not fighting, your body is. It's just a natural, if I put you into a position to adjust your low back, the muscles say, I don't want to go to that spot. But if we can get those to relax 1st, which is why we have all those passive therapies, get everything to relax and hold, like settle down.
Right.
And then we can get that mobility into the spine.
Again, if you're just tuning in, Dr. Sean Neary, Mid-America Spine and Rehab. If you have any hip issues or pain in your knees and you thought, oh, I thought it was a knee problem, I thought it was an ankle problem, well, there you go. That is possibly the wrong thinking, that it might be coming from a different area. We talked about hip replacement surgery, and a lot of times that can be from what someone's done. Is it ever from birth? Is there ever...
Oh, there's it's called hip dysplasia. Yes, there are some times that from birth there's just a congenital anomaly that happens. It can be trauma at birth. It can also just be a natural reaction to how the body was formed in uterus. But can be a common one also, is the hip dysplasia.
So again, we're trying to get it to where you are not affected in other areas. But if someone gets that initial feeling of pain,
Don't
you want
ignore
them
it.
to come in immediately.
Immediately, yes. Let's make sure it doesn't progress into something else.
Right.
Because if it's a hip issue, just showing how that hip can rotate and shift down, then we're going to have low back pain.
Right.
Right. And then we're going to have mid back and then neck pain.
Yeah.
And it all starts at the hip. And then it also works its way down, because the hip is supposed to be very mobile. If the knee is a stabilizer, mobility. If we lose the mobility here, then the knee starts to compensate and becomes too mobile, and then we get knee pain. Not that IT band thing, actual knee pain, because this is starting to compensate for the lack of mobility in the hip.
And it's compensating also if somebody, again, as you were talking about with Jim earlier, the way that the hip is up, the entire body is trying to get itself back in place.
Yes, there. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about this natural reaction that our eyes want to go level to the horizon. So if I'm sitting like this constantly,
Right.
shifted to the side, I am going to rotate my entire torso, and then my head's going to shift, so I'm level. Where does that start? It's down here at the hips. But then you start to get headaches, which we talked about. You get neck pain.
Right.
Again, people are thinking, how does that start at the hip? And then when you start to see the visuals, it makes more sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, and I know you all maybe don't want to hear this, but you need to get weight off of you. The extra weight, and let's just think 10 pounds, right? 10 pounds on your spine, your hips, your knees, 20 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds. I mean, I'm just trying to get people well from a health and wellness standpoint. It's not pushing. Hey, I want you to drop weight. It's not about you getting on a scale, and I care what that scale says. I care that you're not doing this to your body.
Yes.
And I'm sure you would work hand in hand with me on that.
Oh,
one,
absolutely.
Right?
Yes. That's another conversation we have. Depending on the person's body type, losing weight can hugely affect the joints.
Absolutely.
And we have so many testimonies about this. People, I lost 15 pounds. My low back doesn't hurt anymore.
Well, of course.
Because there's not as much pressure putting on the lumbar spine or on your knees or on your ankles.
That's a future show that we should do. And just really, it's not a shock tactic that I'm trying to do, but if we can really hit it home where we break down, let's show what 10 pounds is doing to this or that, right? Let's show what 50 pounds does, 100 pounds. I mean, I have clients over the years that have lost 200 pounds with me. I have somebody that's closing in on 100 pounds, and I'm just like, so how much better do you feel? Not just the fact that you love how you're looking aesthetically, but how do you feel?
Right.
I mean, that's what life should be about.
And also, how did you get to losing 100 pounds, 200 pounds? You're increasing your activity level.
Yeah.
You're actually getting up and moving around. And before, you may have had more of a sedentary lifestyle. So, and you know this, moving around, you feel better.
Absolutely. Well, and there's so much of life that you're missing out on when you're carrying that extra weight. I'm feeling overeating today for our book. I'm thinking that's the one I'm going to do. But yeah, it really is just a matter of if you've got horrible shoulder pain, you've got horrible headaches, neck issues, and you're like, oh, where's it coming from? But if I was actually complimenting my mom yesterday in the pictures that we took. And I said, Mom, your posture is amazing. And she's like, oh, thanks, honey. And she's like, she's small, so shorter, I should say. And she always wanted to sit up straight. And she's like, remember, I always said, sit up straight. Look at that picture. On the left, especially.
I'm looking at the one on the right. Even.
Well, both.
That's great. I think when she came in and I met her, I think I even commented on her posture. And I'm like, oh, look at both of you. Like, you're both shoulders back.
Way to
chest
go,
out.
Mama.
Like, good job.
So and did you look into that surgery I was telling you about, the reverse?
The reverse shoulder?
Yes.
Yeah. So instead of...
It's like the ball and socket.
It seems
like the hip.
It's the ball and socket. The typical shoulder surgery, they put the ball and socket further up, like you were mentioning. The reverse one, they put it down in the humerus.
Yes.
And I didn't get to see too many research studies on it, but I don't think it's as successful. Like
well, that would make sense now. If you're watching, Mom, she's going to be like, I know, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Weight loss helped me out tremendously with my back and hips. Ding,
There we
ding.
go.
Thank you, Richard. It's so very true. To all of you, we were mentioning that we're going to talk about fascia. We're going to actually talk about something that's so painful, plantar fasciitis.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not going to get into it today because we want to go deep into it next Monday. But the amount of pain that anybody that I know has had that, and they get frustrated because they don't want to rest.
Right, exactly.
And that's the problem.
That is the problem. And I'm going to dispel some rumors next week about how to treat it. Also.
Yeah, well, because people want to roll on a tennis ball.
They want to roll on a tennis ball.
Well, we're not going to get into
Not
that.
yet.
Okay, let's
Right.
give all the information. If you've got hip problems, I want you to get in to see my friend, Dr. Sean Neary. Hip problems, back problems, knees, etc. You're going to be amazed what they can do for you. Mid-America Spine and Rehab. And share this, please, with all your friends and all of your followers so they can find out about the great work that they're doing. StayWellSTL.com. And then the phone number is 314-966-8989. And they are taking on new patients. He actually will get you in really quick, which is wonderful. I look forward to
Great.
getting back in. This week.
Good stuff. Awesome.
Okay, we're going to talk about the other aspect. Oh, you actually went in and saw Dr. Sara.
I did see Dr. Sara.
So, see, I love how all of our sponsors are just kind of teaming up together. We were talking about the importance of having your labs done, knowing your numbers, and men and women both, because we hear the word testosterone and we think men. No, men and women both. You went in and had your labs done.
I did have my labs done.
Were you surprised by anything?
A little bit, but
little.
not too bad. But
Good.
because we have to look at age.
Yes.
And then you look at the age, and Dr. Sara can talk more about this. You look at the age-appropriate numbers
Right.
of what they're supposed to be. So I wasn't too surprised being 43 and what my
staying
labs were.
healthy.
Right. And my testosterone, I think it was 417.
Oh, that's good.
It's not bad.
Well, it's considered that my husband's was extremely low. So was
Right.
mine.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think there's a lot of men and women, and we'll talk about this here in the next couple of minutes. We will discuss the fact that just like you're walking around and not at your best when you're structurally wrong, it's the same thing with hormones. I'm actually
Yeah.
going to talk about how it affects relationships. I mean, every
Yeah.
aspect of you walking around when your numbers are not where they're supposed to be, and then when they get to where they're supposed to be, how much different you feel.
Right. How well did we feel when we were 18, when the numbers were kind of what they're supposed to be? And as we aged, everything drops off.
Yep.
So getting back to that, how you feel your relationship status is another big topic.
But I also want to stress, because there's a lot of advertisements that are out there where it's talking about, oh, guys, come in and we'll just jack you up with testosterone. And then you're like, I can bust through a wall. That's not proper.
No.
That's not how you should be feeling. That's wonderful, but that's not going to keep itself.
Right. You might feel good, but
Yeah, it's
what's it
everybody
doing
be,
to
get
you?
away from me.
What's it doing to you inside?
All right, Sean, thank you.
Absolutely.
And
Good to
looking
see you.
forward to having you next week. Again, Dr. Sara Franco coming in next. This is our Medical Monday segment. If you're just tuning in, we always welcome in your questions or topics that you want us to talk about. Let us know in advance so that Sean and Sara can prepare for those. So let's talk a little bit more. Hormone imbalances and why your relationships are really suffering. Sara, in the blue chair when we return.
She's a special woman and done so much for St. Louis.
Watching her work is one of the most incredible things you can see.
She just sees value in everyone.
Sometimes people just need you to sit with them and hear them. I feel heard.
The time flew by, and it was like sitting and talking to a friend.
Not only creating a better place here in St. Louis, but to inspire others. It's always great to have examples like you.
You have such a light and such a presence, and I could feel it this morning.
We knew right away when you started this, we wanted to be on your show. Thanks for having us.
I look forward to seeing how you rock and roll and shake it up.
And welcome back. It is 7:36, and thank you so much for being a part of our show today, The Real Monica Adams Show, as you can see here. We're talking about medical, health, wellness, everything to make you feel better. Thank you to Sean for our first segment, Dr. Sara Franco with InVita Health and Wellness here with us. Did you have a good Mother's Day?
I did. It was great.
Did your kids just shower you with love?
They did. One of the triplets kept telling me Happy Valentine's Day, and I was like, thanks, Ems. It's actually Mother's Day, but that's okay.
Did they make cards for you?
They did. It was so funny. I love when the preschools do this, but they'll have like, my mom is blank years old. You know, her job is blank. So one of them thinks I'm 19. She's my favorite this morning.
No kidding.
Right.
Wow.
One thinks I'm 104. And I was like, that's what I feel like some mornings, Mondays in particular. But the funniest thing, I was like, I don't know if I should be mortified or so proud. But Julian said that his mom's job was to sell people drugs so they don't cry all the time. And I was like, okay, that's close.
The perception of a child, right?
Yeah.
19 to 104. And yeah, she's selling drugs so you don't cry. That's exactly right, Julian. Good job.
Yes.
Well, we did hope that every one of you had a wonderful Mother's Day. If I didn't see your comment yet, I'll be sure to look back at those. But we had a wonderful one at our broadcast. Thank you to all that came out today. It was a gorgeous day, by the way. It was absolutely amazing. And we're talking about being around people and being at our best. And from a relationship standpoint, I don't think a lot of you understand that hormonally, if you are out of balance, how it affects every single facet of your life, from your spouse relationships, your relationship with your kids, your relationship with work. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that. Yes, hormones, as you can see right there. And I was just talking with Sean. Sean went in and had his labs done with you. He's like, okay, I wasn't too far off of what I was thinking, which is good. But him saying he's 43 years old, and there's a lot of guys that are walking around thinking, oh, my testosterone should be great. We've said it before, and I know that he doesn't mind this. Michelle's husband went in. He's just a little bit older than Sean, and his numbers were drastically low. And as soon as he came in, and again, I do want to stress this, because some people have written me saying, hey, I've gone elsewhere. Maybe that's your problem, that you haven't been into InVita, first of all. And they said that they had it done, and I don't know if they just stopped too soon, but they're like, I didn't really see a difference.
Right.
But that's what you stress, that we have to slowly bring that up, right?
We need to slowly bring it up. And one thing that everyone has to keep in mind is whenever you look at that normal range, even something like testosterone, there are hundreds of, the margin there is within hundreds. We need to look at where you're feeling your best, not necessarily where you're walking around, like you said, bulked up or crashing through the wall like the Kool-Aid man, but where you're feeling good, where you're sleeping well, where you are not putting on weight, where your libido is not non-existent. It has to be a good normal for you.
Well, and I love the fact that more people are talking about this, aren't you? We literally had this discussion at lunch yesterday. I was asking my brother, and it's just funny now. I'm like, what are your numbers? And he cracked me up, first of all, because as we're discussing, he's such a smart aleck. He goes, hello, HIPAA.
Nice.
Like, shut up, Brian. But he did. He was talking about his numbers, and he goes, well, why? What should they be? And I said, well, what I've really learned from Sara is what's right for you and what's right for you. I said, she's all about how you feel.
Right.
So it's not one size fits all. And I think that's the biggest thing you all need to understand, that if you're going somewhere else and they tell you, oh, your numbers should be up near 800, 900, 1,000, and then we sit here and listen to Sara say, well, but how do you feel at 500?
Right.
Well, you're not feeling good, then let's change it a bit. And with shots, you can do that. And I know you offer pellets too, but one of the things that I love that you have said is, if someone is wanting to have it changed, if they have pellets put in, you can't adjust that, right? For how many months?
Right. So, well, for women, it's about 3 to 4 months. For men, it's about 6 to 7 months. So what I like to do, and kind of just, and there are a lot of different schools of thought on this, and I want to be absolutely transparent that there are like dosage calculators and things like that. So you can look at labs and kind of guesstimate, which is what we're doing with shots as well, but kind of guesstimate where pellet wise where they would be. What I like to do personally though is to find something that's a little shorter acting. So either oral medication, creams that you use, injections, find a good dosage for you, and then we can translate that to pellets and then manage you on pellets. It's definitely a lot more convenient. You come in one time, it's a one and done, but and a very consistent release of those hormones. But let's find a level that's good for you before we do anything that's going to have some long acting effects.
And let's stress about this because it's something that I was worried about from me having a blood clotting background, but I was told that a lot of the things that people do from more hormone replacement therapy, from the synthetic aspect, that's more where the clotting is kind of tied to.
Well, and the cancers and things like that, and they're all synthetic, right? But what we use as traditional hormone replacement therapy, if you take something like Premarin, that literally means pregnant mare urine. The pill is made from the urine of a pregnant horse. When you look at the chemical structure, right? Yum.
Yeah.
Way to start the morning. Every morning
breakfast.
with some horse urine. So when you look at the chemical structures of those, of what estrogen and progesterone should be, and what these other medications are, they're not similar at all. What we use is bioidentical. So they are still synthetic. They are man-made, but they are, chemically and structurally the same as what our ovaries and what males' testes are producing.
So less chance?
Less chance, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If you're just tuning in, Dr. Sara Franco again from InVita Health and Wellness. We're talking hormones today. And if you have any questions or aha moments of what we're discussing, I want to talk about how it affects, again, your relationship. So let's say somebody's testosterone, men or women both, are off. You mentioned sleep issues, which, by the way, if you're not sleeping well, let's just start there. So much of your life is off.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that throws everything off, and that contributes to other hormone imbalance symptoms like brain fog and fatigue, weight gain, all of those things, headaches, heart palpitations, hormonal acne is something that we see a lot of. Just mood swings and irritability and things like that. It just, I mean, it's going to affect every single aspect of your life.
And so if you're not sleeping and well, by the way, and then let's say you are married or with a partner or whatever, and you're flipping around in bed, you're also affecting them. And then you sit there and you're cranky and you're yelling at each other. Right. I mean, again, this is what we're saying is we want you to be walking around as a happier human being, which I don't think you all realize. If you were to know your numbers, you would go to get your labs done. You might be really surprised that it affects so much of your life. Look at the two of them yelling at each other.
Right. And it really does. And, you know, I think what, and we've kind of gotten ourselves to this point, you know, all of the hormones that we put in foods, all the preservatives and things like that cause all these inflammatory processes, we burn through those hormones faster than they did 50 years ago. I mean, you know, you used to be 65 before you went through menopause, or, you know, 16 years old before you started your menstrual cycle. Now we have 15-year-old boys that look like grown men, and we have 9-year-olds that are starting their period. Nine.
Oh, you just gave me a chill. That's not good.
And it's, you know, so obviously the foods that we're consuming and other environmental factors are having a huge bearing on our health, and we're just burning through hormones a lot faster. So we're seeing these deficits in hormones a lot earlier in women and men as compared to, you know, 40, 50 years ago.
Well, and you've been in the medical field for a long time. So how frustrated are you to see what's being allowed? I mean, that's a whole nother story that we could probably go another show for hours on, about what is allowed to be injected into our foods and how it's changed so much of not only your life as an adult, but what's happening to your kids. I'm worried about the kids.
I know. I'm worried
You are as well?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we look at these things, and you know, if you look at ingredients that are on the back of these labels, and you start looking at chemicals and ingredients that are banned in other countries, there is a huge number of things that we allow into our food without even thinking twice about it, that European countries will not even let near their processing plants.
And I don't know how we get a hold of that and start to change it, because it is. You should be scared. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, I'm trying to do no shock thing here for you today, but you need to look deeper into it. So when you're looking at your kids, and, you know, we're guessing these 9-year-olds to be 16 and 18 years old, I can't even tell anymore. It's dangerous.
I know. Well, my 15-year-old was standing next to me yesterday on Mother's Day, and I was like, I feel like you're taller every time I see you.
Every second.
Every week, from week to week, you know, I feel like you've gained, you know, a quarter of an inch. So he's about 5 inches taller than I am right now. So it's crazy.
So again, we're talking hormones, and you saw that breakdown of all the things that can be affected. So if someone comes in, they get their labs done, and they say, wow, okay, you guys have been telling me this for a while now, I had no idea. You start to be able to say, all right, this is what you're going to need to do. I just want to I love being transparent and real with you. So I went in, it's been now, I don't know, 5-6 months that I've been with Sara, and we checked all my labs, and then we just redid those. And my OBGYN, and I do want you to do this as well. Make sure you're listening to your own physician. Ladies, go into your OBGYN, men go into urologists, etc. Make sure that you come with all of that to Sara and say, okay, here's things working against me maybe. But my OBGYN said, oh, okay. And I used to do a cream, which you were talking about. There's all these different opportunities. So you actually work with a compound pharmacy also, right?
Correct.
And so we were talking about going back to the cream, and then he just said, can we see what your numbers are before we do this? And then you work with the pharmacy to affect that, right?
Correct.
And so we just got those in. I'm actually going to talk to Sara and say, okay, because my testosterone levels did come up.
Yep.
So are they in a good range? Are they a little high?
I mean, they're in a normal range, but again, it depends on how you're
I
feeling.
feel.
Yep.
That's it. How do you feel? How are you walking around? How are your relationships? So if someone has, and again, it doesn't matter age-wise, what would you say is the beginning that you think someone should start paying attention to this? Is it back in our 30s?
Absolutely.
I think you all wait till you're 50 plus.
Right. I mean, we 30, 35 in that range. It's good to have a baseline, because then you know where you're starting. Let's face it, everything after 30, it's a steady decline after that. But But I mean, we very commonly we're doing some mild replacement in young 30-year-olds.
What is the worst that you've seen from a man and a woman standpoint in their 30s as far as their testosterone numbers?
We had an 11 for
Wow.
testosterone for a woman, which I mean, when you look at the normal range again, it's that falls within the normal range, but they were not. They were having symptoms of low testosterone. And for men, I've seen as low as that before.
In their 30s?
In the 30s. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so by the way, do you have, or are you in your 30s, or do you have kids, or do you have grandkids that are in their 30s, and you might want to start talking to them? I have a very dear friend of mine, and she's like, Monica, my testosterone was like almost zero, and she was in her early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And she started that, I don't know, however many years ago, and she's like, yeah, she's like, and she's stressed. She's like, I love how Sara says, how are you feeling? And make sure that you go to someone that is really going to take care of you, and not just one of these clinics where they're just going to jack it up, which is dangerous.
Right. And that's been a lot of the patients that we've been seeing lately are people that are coming from other clinics, and it really is dangerous. It's funny, Missouri is very regulatory on certain things, but they're kind of the Wild West as far as injectables go. And if you can find a medical director or somebody that can sign off on it, then now you're prescribing testosterone. We just had a patient come in that was doing therapeutic phlebotomy, so going and having blood drawn off because they had ran his testosterone up so high, it thickened his blood, and to decrease the workload on the heart, he was going and just donating blood. And when I say donating blood, not even donating blood like for the Red Cross, just donating blood and throwing it away, because you can't use anything with red cells that high. But you think the heart is a muscle, and this is why testosterone is linked to cardiac problems and things like that. If you run your testosterone up too high, then you're going to increase the viscosity of your blood. The heart is going to work harder to pump that blood. It's going to grow because it's a muscle, and then you end up with cardiomegaly.
Wow. Well, and then that's actually something that came up. There was a commercial that was running over the weekend, and I think Jim actually asked, he's like, okay, so what are the problems if somebody's testosterone would be too high? Cardiac issues. He was watching a commercial, though, it had to do with prostate health. Mm-hmm. So if somebody has prostate cancer, guys have prostate cancer, or they have enlarged prostates, etc., does testosterone play a part in affecting their prostate?
It can cause benign prostatic hypertrophy. I have to be totally transparent. I don't know if there's a linkage between prostate cancer specifically and testosterone, but it can definitely cause hypertrophy of the prostate.
So again, the reason to not just go into a clinic where they're not taking care of you, there's a reason you should have a consultation. They look at all of your health background and then incrementally start to bring it up, and then just keep asking, how are you feeling? If a guy wants to come in and have their labs done and then have these injections or pellets done, how often, if it's a pellet, obviously they have it done and then they're not coming back, you said, for months.
Well, we bring them back in 4 weeks for a post
Okay.
check. Women as well. So you'll have your let's talk pellets. You'll have your pre-pellet blood work done, or really even hormone replacement blood work done. Then we do a month of treatment or put the pellets in, and then we check your labs again. If you've never done any kind of hormone replacement before, and then generally you're good for, as long as it's maintaining your symptoms or you're symptom free, then we just keep on that course until the end of the year, and then we'll redraw your labs again and kind of find a new baseline for you.
Okay. Like Jim, he comes in every couple weeks?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So if someone, you just made me think of something. If someone had in the past done regular hormone replacement therapy, and then they're hearing these things, and I mean, I remember back when I was doing news and radio, this is a long, long time ago, that we were hearing links to cancer with regular hormone replacement therapy, and it scared all the women, and they were like, forget it, I'm not doing that.
Right.
But if they did in the past, is there any issue with going from that to transferring to bioidentical?
There's not an issue, but we would definitely recheck the labs, because there are so many women that had just gone off of it. I mean, really, unless they were having like hot flashes so bad they couldn't stand it. Most of the OBGYNs had really shied people away from just even doing it. It was just one of those, this is what it's like to get older. You're just going to have to deal with it. And it's not like that anymore.
Right.
We can take care of those things, and we'll look at things, because if you overdo it on progesterone, or you overdo it and you're estrogen dominant, then it's kind of, that curve where it's better, better, better. And then you start going down the backside of it once you've, the same thing with testosterone. So you'll start having other symptoms or even worsening of those symptoms. So we really need to keep an eye on what your numbers are, as well as how you're feeling.
So if you're coming in right now and you're going into InVita and you're getting your numbers checked, you're doing the labs, et cetera, if somebody were to stop, how long would it take to have that get out of their system where all of a sudden all these symptoms come back again?
Well, it depends on the way. If they were doing pellets, it's going to be the end of those pellets. So for women, 3 to 4 months, men generally 6 to 7 months.
And then it's out of the system at that point?
Then it's going to be out of the system. If you're doing injections, like testosterone, cyprioate, that is going to be out of the system within a couple weeks. So then the adrenal glands or pituitary glands are going to have to kick in.
So again, that's the reason you've got to get it checked to see where you are and either maintain the numbers that you're at, saying, okay, this is the best I've ever felt, or felt in a long, long time. I think there's a lot of people that are probably watching that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s and saying, well, I can't feel like I used to. I mean, the thing is, though, if you've never had it done, you'd be surprised.
Right.
And again, I keep stressing, today we've talked about hormones, but I haven't really talked about how it affects life, mentally, spiritually. When I want to put that whole triangle together, it is, if your body is off, and we can't see what's going on the inside, the medical staff can, and they'll say, well, this is why you're so irritable, this is why you're so angry, this is why you fly off the handle. I think you would be surprised that all those things could be linked back to hormones.
Absolutely.
There's so many aspects of life that I think people are not realizing that. But yeah, I think the wake-up call is that maybe earlier. So don't wait until you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s to start taking care of this. Do it in your 30s and get better earlier.
Right.
Hormones.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I mentioned earlier, and I think, well, since we're talking about food, and I was talking earlier about people having 10, 20, 50, 100 extra pounds on their body, what it does to them structurally. So I'm feeling 100 Days to Freedom from overeating.
Okay.
You feel that one?
Let's do it.
That's what we're going to do. It one more time. InVita Health and Wellness. I want you to go in. I want you to have your labs done. I don't think I can say it enough. Have your labs done. If there's anything that I want you to go in for, it's that. And then you'll see all the other treatments that they have as well to take care of your skin, take care of your body inside and out. InVitaHealthAndWellness.com. And there's their location, 333 South Kirkwood Road. They're on Suite 300. InVita Health and Wellness. Again, 314-394-0950. And I thank all of you that have been going into her over the last year. There's so many wonderful success stories. And I know more of you that are telling me that you're heading in there. Another friend of mine that's coming back from Colorado, she said she can't wait for her IPL treatment. She just wanted to get out of the sun, she said. Yep. So thank you again. As we always say, support our sponsors that support us. Okay, 100 Days to Freedom. People ask me, what are the names of these books? That's the name of the book. 100 Days to Freedom from Stephen Arterburn, and we'll do it from overeating when we return. InVita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. InVita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, InVita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let InVita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online InVitaHealthAndWellness.com. Welcome back, 7:57. If you're just tuning in, you can go back and watch the beginning of this. We did a little recap once again of our wonderful Mother's Day show from yesterday. We talked about the Northern Lights and saw some beautiful pictures that you all sent in to us. Thank you for doing that. We'll get more user-generated content on our shows coming up in the future. And that one made me laugh. In case you missed the Northern Lights last night, it kind of looked like this. Actually, I think Kathy Kilo-Peterson even, there's probably a ton of those all over your feed today. So yes, it did kind of look like that. All of your kids probably could have drawn the Northern Lights. So we are going to do overeating. And I know a lot of you get frustrated. That affects your relationships. You're not feeling your best. Well, day 17 of 100 Days to Freedom from overeating is called Accepting Reality. Oh Lord, you have examined my heart and I know everything about me. How beautiful is it that God knows everything about us? He knows our desires. He knows our hurts, knows the areas where we're resistant to change. He's given us a beautiful path toward healing, paved by sending his son to die on the cross for us in our place. None of us are perfect, and by the way, you never will be. Stop trying for perfection. We all need Jesus. He brings into our lives the truth that leads us on the path of freedom and peace. Today can be the first day that we accept the reality that overeating is a problem in your life. Today can be the first day that you refuse to believe the lie that the weight is not a big deal and that we accept the fact that what we have created is wrong. I want you to feel better about yourself. Come on. Get on board the health wagon. Choosing to sit in the uncomfortable space of realizing and accepting that this is our responsibility is painful on so many levels. But it is the first step toward making a lasting change, a step to change your life for the better. As we stay dedicated to the process and stay in the state of acceptance, we will be able to take responsibility for our own emotional pain. God is with us in this process and will never leave us or forsake us. Reinhold Niebuhr said, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. I think we've all heard that one a time or two. Stephen Arterburn and Linda Mintle. It is about right now and what you choose to do about it. And Bill Johnson says, great faith doesn't come out of great effort, but out of great surrender. Again, for further reflection, go to Joshua 1, verse 9. You can go to John 14, verse 6, Romans 8, verse 31, or 1 John 1, verses 8 through 9. And today's prayer is, Dear Lord, thank you so much for my life. Jesus, I accept responsibility for my life, and I pray that when I'm tempted to make excuses or hide from reality, that you help me. Please forgive me in this area of my life. Amen. I hope these help you. They really were something that I was drawn to when I went to the Crossing last year, and I picked these up, 100 Days to Freedom books, and there's so many of acceptance, overeating, depression, anxiety, fear, shame, and anger. Wonderful books, and we've got to get Stephen Arterburn on our show. Okay, coming up tomorrow, Christy Prosser. She was my former manager at my former manager at Copperoo's up in Florissant. And she has followed her dream and her passion, and she opened up Firefly Grill. Well, we're going to talk tomorrow about finding love later in life. We're going to talk about going through hardships of divorce. We're going to talk about a woman-owned business. We'll talk about the closeness of faith and family, so many things, and following your dream and taking the leap and opening a location that others say, well, I hope you do okay, because nothing's done well here. There's been other restaurants in that location, but she is thriving. So not only will she be in tomorrow, but we're going to have a live broadcast from Firefly Grill on May 30th. So, by the way, Christy, thank you for booking us. I do want to let you know that this Thursday, Just Pools is having us out, and we'll be getting ready for their big Memorial Day sale and celebration. Madonna, thank you for booking us. 7 a.m., we're going to be kicked back, sitting by the pool. I hope the weather will cooperate for us. Beckett, get on that. Just Pools on the West Outer Road in Arnold. Can't wait for that. So some fun things coming up for sure. Thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in today. And if you just saw a little bit of the show, go back and watch it. And watch yesterday's, by the way, because we had some wonderful vendors on. Those farmers and artisans that are at the market in O'Fallon, Missouri, every Sunday through October. And thank you again to John and Melissa Knoll for having me out yesterday. I had a wonderful time. I hope you enjoy the day. Remember to grab your umbrella. We do have some weather. We have some rain on the way for you today in the weather. So take care of yourself. Be careful out there. And remember to spread the love of kindness. God bless you all.